Okay. So, hello, YouTube.
Tip
Author
number
3. 4, I think. Anyway, that's not important. What's important is that we're actually recording this, and that this will probably be the version unedited that we throw up there unless we find an editing software real quick.
I'm too lazy.
Yes. So anyway, so I'm Joanie Doe. On YouTube, I'm known as Joanie Doe Shadow, and my other channel is under Blitzy. So, this year I've decided to do NaNoWriMo again, and we'll talk about what NaNoWriMo is in a little bit. And this is my sister.
Hi, I'm EJ Works. That is the pen name I use. I have some online comics that you can read on Drunk Duck and Smack Jeeves. I'm still on DeviantArt where I post 3D graphics, and I have not been doing consistent writing in several years. I just finished my bachelor's degree May or June of this year, so I really was stoked about this year. I'm finally going to do NaNoWriMo. I attempted it a while back, but I was still taking college classes, and I'm not a very good student, much less trying to keep up with classes and writing on a deadline.
She still gets A's, but she's not good. So frustrating. Some people are just gifted at like choosing teachers.
I got plenty of B's and C's.
Well earned.
Those were deserved, yes. So were they. Anyway, so I wanted to do a friendly competition with my sister to encourage us both to do NaNoWriMo this year and to set some goals and meet those goals, and really to get me back to consistently writing. Like, this is kind of my jump start to, that's it. I gotta focus and get back to being creative and writing consistently.
So we'll be doing like kind of like writer vlogs and different things like that about once or twice a week. Once a week at least, updating what our progress is during the week, and then maybe a couple of actual like character analysis or different things like that we might want to do a video on.
At some point we have to decide what the stakes are, so both of us, we're going to set up our personal goals. So like the novel I'm working on has 20 chapters.
Mine's 26.
My goal is to finish the rough first draft of all 20 chapters. And as far as word count goes, 50,000 words is what NaNoWriMo, their official focus and goal is. I'm not too worried about necessarily reaching that goal. I mean, I think 40,000 is good for a first draft. I don't know.
It depends on the story. Like, honestly, for me, like, what matters is how much words you actually need to tell your story.
Right, that's another thing. I hate if I can say something in 2 words versus 10 or 15. I'm going to take the 2 words. I don't like being particularly flowery, especially in a rough draft. I mean, going back and tweaking, maybe expanding how I express some things, adding more details about settings and descriptions of characters, that would be more in later drafts. But for a first draft,
it's very rough.
Your first drafts are usually more rough. Action and dialogue.
Yeah.
That's kind of how, when I write, is this is where they're at. I'm trying to set up a timeline, maintain continuity with that timeline, locations of the characters, who's there, and their dialogue. More than anything in a first draft.
Yeah, and see, my project is actually a 15-year-old project. I've dusted off, and I have rewritten the outline. This is the 9-page printout of my 11,000 word outline.
How many?
11.
11,000 words?
Yeah, most of this is 9. Right, and I don't have a lot of margins. So this is my outline, and a lot, it's been something I've been working on and stuff. And actually, now that November's here, I'm probably like, I want to break from this, which is just terrible because like I need to like focus and get down because this is November 1st.
Let's get down to business. We'll make a writer out of you.
let's not get rude about it. But anyway, so like changing it from script for comic format into a novel format has been one of the challenges, but it's also, as far as like developing the characters and stuff, it's actually ended up being a blessing in like expanding how I write this story, and the characters and plots has gone through a lot of changes. But I think it's actually for the better, and so I'm really looking forward to having this draft done. And I think this draft is going to be a lot more polished just because I have so much of it already planned out. Whereas, and I think it's interesting too, like you're talking about your first draft is very, very rough, and this is not like outline draft. This is like your actual story novel draft is going to be a lot more rough. I know a lot of writers, they overload the first draft and then they have to trim and edit.
I'm the opposite. I outline, I make character sheets, I do some computer graphics, and I like to design my characters. I like to know eye color, hair color, size, and all that stuff, and how different characters perceive each other, whether they're correct in their perceptions or not. And I work all of that stuff out, and I usually spend a lot of time doing that. With this particular project, I've only been working on it for like 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
And
so it's going to be almost like pantsing for you. Are you familiar with the pantser term?
I am.
It does sound funny though.
That's not why I laugh, because I still have an outline. I still have done planning.
But for you, it's definitely more like pantsing, relatively speaking.
I have not done the character illustrations yet. I only have notes on the character sheets for a few of the main characters. Yeah. I think like 4 of the characters out of like 15 that are in it. And
I don't know how many characters I have in this one.
Yeah.
I probably have 30, 40 named characters.
But yours is like a really long ongoing series too. This is just a one-shot novel. Right. Which, yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic. It's called The Mentorship of Lenka. And I decided to place it in the Republic of Czech. And all my characters have Czech names or Slavic names, because you do have Slavic, Polish, and other minorities because of neighboring and positioning. And so the country as we know it doesn't exist, but the location would basically overlap with Prague and what's called, in English, it's called Bohemian Paradise. And it's this large land reserve. And then on the edges of it, there's like farming communities and stuff. And so in the post-apocalyptic, you have no technology, but you have young people that are trying to develop
I would say
technology.
No technology, because
let me rephrase that.
It's very low.
We don't have electricity. And you don't have laptops and lights and all this other stuff, but you have them basically. You have some people out in the countryside farming, old school style. You have smaller villages, and then you have this group of people that are excavating and rebuilding the city of Prague.
And you still have dragons.
And there are dragons.
Post-apocalyptic with dragons.
Yes. So whatever happened that caused technology to collapse, then it released the dragons.
Dragons.
And so dragons play an important part of the story.
So, funny, because like mine's fantasy, and in some ways
but yours is higher tech. Yours is higher tech.
Because, yeah, it is. It actually really is. Because, like, spoiler, there's the scene where there's like this crystal ball, and it's gonna be kind of like mystic and everything, and it seems like magic to the main character. She puts her hands on the ball, but it's actually like a computer database.
Oh, yeah.
And so when she puts her hands on it, it reads her thumbprints, and it's searching for where she belongs because it's a citizen registry.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, I wasn't going to have so much tech in the story, but there was just I had so much fun. Like, well, it's a very low magic to almost no magic fantasy world.
Mm-hmm.
Because from the perspective of the main character, everything seems like magic, but then she soon finds out magic is actually forbidden. It's like it's against the law.
Mm-hmm.
So there's it's very inspired by Magna and wuxia films. Well, not wuxia, wuxia.
Oh, the Chinese.
Wushu, yeah.
Okay. So martial arts.
It has an X in it, so I kind of want to pronounce it like an English S, but I know better than to pronounce it like that. It just came out wrong. But yeah, so the Chinese martial arts fantasies, and so in those stories, people can have almost like superhuman powers through training.
They're almost like superhuman because of their endurance, what they can take.
Right.
It's an incredible amount of use.
Right, and you have in the fantasy, like, people can fly almost and stuff in these kind of stories. And so not everybody has this kind of abilities. It's very limited who can do what and why, but it's very much inspired by some of my favorite Japanese manga and anime that are fantasy. So, like, primarily the 12 Kingdoms.
Yeah,
that was like really visually that was one of my huge inspirations, because I used to go to Best Buy and they had 2 of the DVDs, and just the art is just like so amazing to me. And then also I was reading the manga from Far Away at that time, so that plays into it too. So mine is a fantasy story, and it's called Destiny and Loyalty, and kind of the themes play out on how the concepts of destiny and loyalty both intersect and sometimes push against one another. Like, because if you choose to be loyal, that's not destiny. You got your agency.
But you were destined to be loyal.
But then there's some people who, because they're only loyal because of the position that they're in, more than because
they have actual agency. Yeah.
So there's that push and pull between those kind of concepts.
People can be fatalistic in their loyalty more as a default, because it's like, well, this is my destiny, so I might as well. It doesn't matter that they're evil. So, or lucky me, they're good guys.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, and there's a lot of like politics, and if you're in the military and you've already sworn an oath of loyalty to an emperor,
trade disputes.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. Whenever people mention politics and stuff, then my mind goes to trade disputes, although I didn't really find that all that annoying.
No, okay, if you're talking about Phantom Menace, it's only bad because it's presented in a very childish way. The concept itself isn't childish, but it's presented very childishly. But hopefully, I certainly hope my story doesn't come off as childish. Because, I mean, there's a lot of people that have big concept ideas, and then you actually write it, and it's not as mature as they thought it was. It'd be terrible, since I spent so much in my last few years writing nonfiction for news letters and stuff, so it would be devastating if I can't actually write something mature and thought out.
So our main points was to introduce ourselves, introduce the projects we're working on.
So destiny and loyalty, and the mentorship with Linka.
Which I might change the title. I don't know. I usually don't change titles once I have one, but I'm not completely satisfied with that title.
Well, I mean, maybe just keep it through November and then change it later for publishing or something.
But we each have our goals. So mine is 20 chapters. My word count, I want at least the 40,000. But I also don't want to discourage myself from aiming for the 50,000 because that's what Nano actually wants. Mm-hmm. But to me, the bigger thing is having a decent first rough draft of my novel all the way through from beginning to end. I already have the outline done. I create some Google Docs, and so they're dated with the dates that they're supposed to be done. Each day has a chapter assigned to it, and
I didn't plan like that.
So that's what I have done so far is an outline and my Google Docs set up for each day of the November. I have 2 projects I'm working on.
Oh.
Because Betting on Love.
Oh, yeah.
And with that one...
I thought you would put that one on hold while you're working on...
I was going to, but...
She likes to kill herself with ridiculous challenges.
I've been putting off writing that one for a long time. I actually wanted to have the first part of it ready and already published by now. So I'm trying to do at least 12 chapters to Betting on Love, which was my online comic on DeviantArt and Drunk Dog and Smack Jeeves. It's still up there, but I've updated the DeviantArt account, and it's mostly new art that I've done, because originally it was drawn by Neko Hashira, and we had to, we weren't able to finish it, and
she went to college.
I wanted to, well, it was actually when she graduated that she finally was not able to make time to keep working on it, but, which is fine. I mean, we worked on it for like 5 years together.
That's a long time.
That was a long time. And anyway, I really wanted to finish it. And so I've revisioned it as a kind of like a light novel. So it's going to be 3 short novels with illustrations by me in there. And so I want to get at least 12 chapters of that done, plus the 20 chapters for Lenka.
Okay. So Destiny and Loyalty, it's also, I want it to be a light novel. I don't know exactly for sure about artists yet.
I think you're going to have to speak up a little more.
Sorry, I got a cold. I don't know yet about the artist because she's working on her project. She might not be able to do the art for me, but she has been working on some illustrations and character designs. So, I didn't get nearly as far when Destiny and Loyalty was a comic. It was called Temple Guard, and it was hosted on Smack Cheese as well. I can't remember the name
of the artist. I think it was on TikTok, wasn't it?
Mm-mm.
No?
No, okay. I don't think so. I was going to upload it there, but I never did. But, and that, like, even though I started writing it in 2003, the comic, I think we started publishing it in 2006. And, like, near the end of 2006 and the beginning of 2007, and then, the artist I was working with was working, and we just weren't able to continue on because life happens. When you're a young adult, teenager, duo working on something like that, stuff happens. And it's hard, especially, like, the artist had her own projects that she wanted to do as well. So committing to doing the art for somebody else's story, especially when I didn't have money to pay her for it. So, it's understandable why stuff doesn't get completed when you really want them to. But, like I said, going back and rewriting it to be a light novel has been a good thing, and getting to know the characters from a different lens and trying to figure out how I'm going to present them without the aid of the visuals. So, like, as a light novel, visuals are going to be a supplemental, and it's not a part of the actual storytelling. So,
it's a fun bonus.
Exactly, it's a fun bonus. I like it and stuff. In some ways, it's kind of a part of the storytelling, but it's not necessarily, because you can tell the story without it. But my outline is for 26 chapters, and I've estimated it's probably going to be between 58,000 to 60,000 words by the time I get it done.
For the end of November, or
yeah, to complete the novel.
Okay.
Because outline chapters and then scenes, and most chapters are 4 to 5 scenes each.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of estimating, excuse me, about how long each scene I think is going to be word count wise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a rough estimate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to be able to write every single day. I already know that just because I'm working and stuff. So I have a schedule.
I've already missed most of today just because I've been sick, and it was just...
Yeah, I felt so bad. I was going to start writing at midnight, and then I was working, and then I got home, and I was just like, I did not feel well.
So we're at a great start.
Yeah, I know. So after we post this,
Mm-hmm.
then we got to actually get to cracking on writing. So today I want to at least finish the first chapter, maybe the first couple of chapters. And then my schedule is I have some days where I can write 5 hours, and other days I'm gonna like push through when it's my day off, or I work in the mornings and I have the next day off. Mm-hmm. I can just do an overnight for 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that will hopefully get me to where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Completed script, manuscript, and everything.
So down below we'll have links to NaNoWriMo, Joanie's page on NaNoWriMo, and my page, EJ, on NaNoWriMo.
There's cool prizes and different stuff, and even though it's like, if you hadn't heard of NaNoWriMo before, but maybe you want to look at it, they do have like summer camps and stuff, so even if you just poke around and maybe start a project this year and then get a little more active later, don't feel discouraged just because November's already started.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you can be a crazy person and go, hey, I'm going to start something from scratch and write in 30 or less days, and hey, have fun with it. If you want to do that, go for it.
All right. So we're going to try and post maybe once, sometimes twice a week, to just give there'll be shorter videos, about 5 minutes long, of just saying where we're at. They will be shorter videos. If I have to start scripting these in advance, they will be shorter videos. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.